Alright, here we're looking at z-scores we want to know the information above it. So for the numbers below, find the percent of the cases falling above the z. So let's start out with A and just kind of talk about it a little bit before we get to the actual z table. Alright, so we have our normal curve, we have our mean, okay, and then we have our z-score of 0.24, okay, which is actually somewhere in here, but we have our z-score roughly in there of 0.24. Alright, now, so when we go to look up our information, it's going to give us this area. Okay, but we don't want that area. We want this area. We want the area behind it. Well, we know the whole curve has to equal 1, or does equal 1 by definition, equal 1. And so if we take the value that's given in the table and subtract it from 1, it'll give us the area above it. Alright, so let's go look at our z chart for 0.24 and see what areas it has listed. Alright, so we go down to 0.24, and if we look at 0.24, we end up with 59.48 for our z for the tabled value. Okay, now what we're going to end up doing for that is just taking 1 from it. So I'm going to just do we'll take that value and subtract 1 from it. So we'll have 1 minus 59.48. Okay, and then when we take the difference between that two, we should end up with 52. And so that would be our value, or 40.52% of the data or the cases, whatever we're talking about, fall above it. So again, that gives us the area up here. Alright, so let's look at B. Alright, with B, we're given a z-score of negative 1.1. Okay, we're going to end up doing the same process. So let's go to our table and look up 1.11. Alright, so here's our table. We're going to go look up negative 1.11. Alright, so we had negative 1.1. So negative 1.1 would be here at 0.135. So I'm just going to do it over here on the side. So it's going to be 1 minus 0.1335. So if we take that difference, we end up with 0.8665. Okay, so we subtract that from our tabled value and we get 8.665. Okay, and then if we're going to write that as a percentage, we just move the decimal 2 places over and get 86.65%. Okay, so the process here, again, if we're above, we'll just subtract 1 from it, because 1 represents the entire area, and then this represents the area below it. So if we take the difference, it gives it the value underneath it. Alright, so let's look at C. Alright, with C, we have a z value of 1.22. And again, you really don't have to draw it, but what we're looking for, we want this area up here. Actually be more like this area. But anyway, we get that area. We want the area to the right. Okay, but when we go look up the z table, it's giving us this information. And so to come up with this, we'll take 1, subtract from whatever we come up with in the tabled value. Alright, so looking at the table value for our z-score, looking at 1.22, that's the negative. Let's go with the positive. So 1.22, if we look up 1.22, come over that 0, 1, 2, we end up with, not all that, just 0.888 for our value. So we're going to take 1 minus 0.8888, and we end up with 0.1112 or 11.12%. Alright, let's go ahead and do D. Let's go look up our table value of negative 2.7. Alright, so let's go up to negative 2.7. Sorry, it's negative 207. Alright, so let's go negative 207. I'm just going to go show the top of our chart. So we come down to here, and we end up with 0.002. Nope, sorry, wrong place. We're down here at 0.012. So we're going to subtract that number from 1. So we take 1 minus 0.092, and we end up with 98.08 as a percentage, or 0.9808. Either way. Well, let's go back over here where we did it at. So this, for D, we should end up with 0.9808 or 98.08%.